Welcome to the Mere Nonsense podcast. I have the record
Where
button so I can actually say it.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Uh Today we start our first episode of the spooky season. Uh Today's topic will be exorcisms. And Brad will start it off for us, and then I have a few stories to tell, and then we'll go from there.
Quick housekeeping before we get into that. So, we are, if all goes well, I'm going to try to get this up on Anchor, which should post it to Spotify, I believe. Just Spotify. It might have some other ones, but we're going with Spotify. So I'll try to get this on there. Hopefully the audio sounds good enough. And then we're gonna actually start to push this on through. Any feedback would be great if we have any stutters or anything that we don't hear. If there's any editing we need to do, because for the most part we don't edit this. We just kind of go in raw.
And uncut.
Raw and
Yes,
uncut.
sir.
But yeah, so this month we're gonna be doing our just month of spooky shit. What is the set schedule, Z, for that?
For this month?
Yeah.
So today like I said, we are doing exorcisms. And then next week, we will have a special guest, Venus, coming back to join us for creepypastas. And then October 15th, we will be doing murder stories. October 22nd, Venus will come back again to join us for top 5 horror movies. And then October 29th, it is still up in the air, but for now, we do have tragedies.
So I was gonna say tragedies are great. SCPs. SCPs is a fun one. Again, any suggestions if anyone has them? I know we still have a couple people that listen to this, maybe. So
Right.
And people listening live.
I know. But yeah, any suggestions for the last one? We can make it a community thing where we kind of pull some stuff together or whatever. But we'll go from there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then so for today to kick off exorcisms, so I pulled up our article, just kind of like a very brief history of exorcisms. It didn't mention much. Mostly that one of the earliest, and I think the earliest iteration of a exorcism was Jesus in the Bible. Obviously, he exorcised a man, which they called a miracle back then. When he exorcised a spirit at a synagogue in Capernaum. I believe so. This is me dig deep bear down from my church days. I think they thought that he was sick or something. And when Jesus went there to go heal him, he performed an exorcism. And that's when 1,000 demons came out. But when Jesus spoke to him, he asked, "What is the demon's name?" And the demon said, "We are legion, for we are many." So the one body had a bunch of demons inside him. I should really switch my camera angle because I'm looking this way to talk to you guys and then opposite.
That's fine. I'm gonna be looking this fucking way for the most part.
So that's very brief. Now, what happens if you're possessed today? So the Roman Catholic Church, as of like 1999, updated like what they do for their exorcisms. When it comes to the actual method, it's pretty much the same. It's a fucking holy water, speaking, Latin or whatever. Power of Christ compels you. Does it, Jay? Does it, right? So splashing holy water, going through the incantations, whatever. But so the cliff notes I got, so the Roman Catholic Church revised it in 1999. The cardinal who oversaw this revision said has more sober language with fewer adjectives than in the previous one, but the basic setup is exactly the same. The 99 revision does make substantial effort to say exorcism should not be a substitute for medical help, and that possession is not the same as mental illness. So basically, they express like, "Hey, we can do this. Make sure you go through all of the other, methods first. Let's make sure that you're not just crazy. You're not just, you don't have like an affection that's affecting your brain, that kind of shit." If the exorcist has doubts about the sanity of a possessed person, he can consult a specialist. It can be a collaboration. Um, Not all exorcisms are harmless, but that does not mean that exorcism is always a harmless placebo that you might as well try. In his book American Exorcism, Michael Queno offers accounts of women being pummeled to death in San Francisco and a Korean woman being trampled to death in Glendale during exorcisms. Most disturbingly, he describes how a 5-year-old Bronx girl died after her mother and grandmother forced her to drink a lethal cocktail containing ammonia, vinegar, and olive oil, and then bound and gagged her with duct tape. The two women claimed that they were merely trying to poison a demon that had infested a little girl several days earlier. So
Yeah, that's fucked.
So church wants to avoid that shit.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's just kind of
The
all I
problem
got.
with that, the problem with that is which I'm going to delve into because I am bringing in old stories as well as stories more modern to us. And we'll see some similarities and some differences on that, but it's one of those things where it's just like it's tales old as time. Just because you should does not mean you shouldn't. And it's not in the sense of the exorcism part. To me, honestly, it's going to be the sense of actually being a parent. So, I do have about a handful of these stories. There's no particular order to them, but I am probably going to be going a little bit back and forth between old ones and then new ones, and old ones and new ones.
Do you want to rank these, Billy?
Yeah, you can rank them.
All right. From that's fucked up to that's fucked up. On a scale from 1 to fucked up, that's fucked up.
Yeah, I was just thinking of.
Yeah. So, yeah,
That's right.
let's a little side note before we start. When Brad was bringing up the whole "We Are Legion," bro, how fucking metal is that? Like, it's something that has actually been included in so many parts of literature. Like, for
Daredevil.
example, yeah,
Or not Daredevil,
or fucking
Ghost Rider.
Warhammer,
Ghost Rider.
that too.
Mhm,
Fucking
mhm, mhm.
Warhammer with the Chaos Space Marines. That's literally all the fuck they're about. We Are Legion. But all right, that's enough. I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. So yeah, we'll get on with our first story. And the one that I'm gonna start off with is our oldest one and possibly the most popular one. Um this is The Exorcism of Annalise Michelle. And this is actually based off of the movie Exorcism of Emily Rose. And I wanted to talk about this one just because we've talked a good amount about that movie. So I figured why not actually bring in the real story. And yeah. Annalise Michelle grew up a devout Catholic girl in Bavaria, West Germany in the 1960s. She attended mass twice a week. And she was when she was 16, she suddenly blacked out at school and walked around in a type of daze. Her friends would say she was in a trance-like state. A year later, she experienced a similar occurrence where she woke up in a trance and went her bed. Her body also went through a series of convulsions, causing her body to shake uncontrollably. After her diagnosis, Annalise began taking medication for her epilepsy and enrolled in the University of Würzburg in 1973. But the drug she was given did not work because her condition worsened. She began to believe she was possessed. She stated she began to see the face of the devil wherever she went, and she heard demons whispering in her ears. What the demons would be telling her were things like damned or rotten hell while she was praying. Eventually, she believed that in fact it was not a demon, but the devil himself. Every priest she would seek the help of would reject her and told her to go see a doctor. Believing she was possessed, she ripped the clothes off her body, compulsively performed up to 400 squats a day, crawled under a table, and barked like a dog for 2 days. She would get worse and start to eat spiders and coal, biting the head off of a dead bird, and would lick her own urine from the floor.
Sounds
Her
like
mother would
One Punch Man's workout routine, but like more
for,
fun.
for possession.
Was she
Her
also
mother-
Brian scooting across the fucking carpet?
No
Oh
AC.
my God.
No AC. Remember that.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. Well, that's why she took off her clothes. It makes sense. Her mother would find a priest named Ernst Alt who believed her possession. He said that she did not look epileptic later in court. Annalise wrote to Alt, "I am nothing. Everything about me is vanity. What should I do? I have to improve, so pray for me." And would also say, "I want to suffer for the people, but this is cruel." All petitioned that the local bishop, Joseph Stangl, who eventually approved the request and granted a local priest, uh, Arnold Rensp, gave him permission to perform an exorcism, but ordered that is be carried out in total secret. Over the next 10 months following Bishop's approval of the exorcism, Alt and Rens conducted 67 exorcisms, lasting up to 4 hours. Though the exorcisms, Annalise believed that she was possessed by 6 demons afterwards. Lucifer, Cain, Judas Iscariot, Adolf Hitler,
Well.
Nero, and a disgraced priest by the name of Fleischmann. During the sessions, Annalise would frequently talk about dying to atone for the wayward youth of the day and the apostate priests of the modern church. She would break bones, rip tendons on her knees from kneeling in prayer continuously. Mind you, this is 10 fucking months, dude. And she slowly stopped eating. She eventually died of malnutrition and dehydration in July 1st, 1976. After her death, Annalise became a national sensation in Germany after her parents and 2 priests were charged with negligent homicide. They came before the court and even used a recording of the exorcism to try and justify their actions. The 2 priests were found guilty of manslaughter resulting from negligence and were sentenced to 6 months in jail and 3 years of probation. Which apparently those 6 months they didn't even go through with them. They just were pretty much on probation and that was it. They got a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
And the parents were exempt from any punishment as they suffered enough, which was actually a criteria for sentencing in German law. This famous situation would go to be made into the movie known as The Exorcism of Emily Rose. During the recording, she would say things like, "People are stupid as pigs. They think it's all over after death, but it goes on." And Judas saying Hitler was nothing but a big mouth who had no real say in hell. And we actually do have a bit of a recording, and Billy over here has it, so he'll play for it
Yeah. Playing.
whenever you're ready, Billy.
Why is it not playing?
You had one job.
Everything was ready for this, and
You
now
had
it's not
one
playing.
job.
Oh my god!
Fuck.
Well,
Well, we had a
basically, it sounded
recording.
like
Pretty much,
Basically,
yeah.
yeah.
Hold on.
Hold up.
Get it. I don't know why it's not working. I literally tested it earlier today to make sure it fucking worked.
But yeah,
All right.
so
fucked up, though.
902.
did you ever
And
hear
that's-
about this one, Brad?
So I watched The Exorcism of Emily Rose years ago, and I don't remember it. But I've at least heard of it.
Right.
I don't remember shit though.
This is pretty nuts, man. It's I mean, it's right there with the exorcism. I forgot what it was, but it was the exorcism that was pretty much what made the movie The Exorcist. It's right there with how famous it is. So I mean, this is probably the most famous one we got right now. And yeah, it's pretty nuts, man. I mean, the fact that that's a weird one though from German law that they've suffered enough. But I mean, it was, I don't know. She was epileptic.
Right.
I mean, she kind of definitely had some issues, but
Mhm.
apparently that was enough. And that just goes to show you, like in those times, people were still very religious. This was what, 60 years ago.
Yep.
People were still pretty religious. And I mean, that's those are one of those issues. If you're religious enough and you're crazy enough, it'll kind of be like, okay, let's
But
just fucking go on with it.
I think one thing to go off on that is now we have so many different types of Christianity. So you started with like Catholicism, and then it broke down into Christianity, and that broke down into so many different sects of Christianity. And like the one that like by denomination, I think it was Protestant, uh, super laid back, like you don't have to go to church all the time. You don't have to pay your tithes. You don't have to take part in communion. Your church is anywhere you want to make it, you know? Like anything could be a temple if you make it that way. Like it was so laid back. But then 60 years ago, you know, you had like Catholicism was heavy, you know? All those
Right.
motherfuckers started dying off, you know?
Yeah. Well, for now, I think we can skip that little recording because it's not even that long. It's under a minute. So I mean,
Seconds.
if Billy can eventually get to it, that's fine, but we don't really need it. Um,
I think I
I
did a
will.
good enough impersonation.
I
Yeah.
think that
So,
was actually pretty
It's
spot on. Yeah.
essentially that. Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. I'm
what are
not
they gonna?
over here, you know, laughing that Billy literally had one job on this entire podcast.
I literally tested it. Literally tested it earlier today,
Z
and it
brought
worked
like
just fine.
82 stories. I brought a news article. Billy had a soundbite.
Oh fuck, Billy.
I don't
That's
like.
why
I literally have it selected in the little sound pad thing, but it's not playing anything.
God
that's
damn.
why you're here, Billy.
Yeah, that's why you're here.
I'm the pretty face of the podcast.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what
we
it
can't
is.
even tell with how blurry you are right now, buddy.
What do you mean?
You're
Oh, Jesus Christ! What the
Damn,
fuck?
even with the new
Hey,
mic,
hey,
he still
hey,
gets
hey!
blurry.
It
Or not a
looks
new mic,
better
a new
now.
fucking webcam. Brad doesn't even get blurry, and you would get
Well, that's
blurry every
because he's got
week.
no lights on.
Yeah, you're right. It's trying to
I don't
focus
have
on
any lights
the ghost
either, and
behind
it's
him.
still picking me up fucking great.
Hey Billy, do you want to see the difference between light mode and dark mode for my for my notepad? Ta-da!
Oh fuck.
That's why I don't have any lights on.
God,
All
you're gonna
right.
go blind.
I will continue with the next story, which actually is a modern one. This was back in 2014 in Rockville, Maryland. Two Maryland women accused of murdering two children they believed were possessed told investigators that they saw the children's eyes turn black as evidence that they were being controlled by demons, authorities said on around that time. The women the, the women are they were being held without bond and would undergo psychiatric evaluations to determine their competency to stand trial. Duh, duh, duh. Bruh. This was a 1-year-old boy and a 2-year-old girl. They were discovered dead after a neighbor called the police. Two other children, an 8-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl, were being treated for stab wounds and were expected to recover. The mother of all four children, who was 28 at the time, and her roommate, who was 21, were charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. According to the reports presented in court, the women said that they saw eyes of each of the children blackening as demons entered the bodies of each of the children and jumped from one child to the other. And that was their reasoning, to jump at the kids. This starts getting ridiculous right here. The women recounted that they tried to break each child's neck, then strangled and stabbed them, he said. At one point, one of the Avery attacked Sanford because she believed a demon had jumped from one child to the other. The actions were to drive the demons out the body. And then they were ordered for psychiatric evaluation of the women's accounts. This is fucking insane right here, because apparently they were actually the women were part of a 4-person group calling themselves Demon Assassins. The other members, the 2 men, are being they weren't a part of it, and they were also not considered to be dangerous, but fucking wild, dude. Like that was just like an honorary mention right there, but like that, I thought that was fucking insane that they saw like these eyes from babies just blacken apparently and go from one child to another.
I think these people play too many video games.
Probably
too much GTA 5. I'm glad
Not
that
enough GTA 5.
I'm glad that however it's $750 whatever $1,000 or whatever the fuck is going to these people.
And it's crazy. It's crazy too, because like while I was looking through all these different I guess modern day exorcisms or stuff like that, it's they more so just turn out to be like ridiculous excuses for murder.
Mm-hmm.
So really,
and there's
who's that famous bitch, Casey Anthony? It's just like
Well, that
Casey
murdered her
Anthony
daughter?
with like Casey Anthony, but with like, you know, a weird fucking excuse.
for real.
A supernatural excuse. I did get that soundbite fixed before we play.
Oh, you got it fixed?
I got it.
Wait, for sure?
I hope this
Yeah.
sounds so bad.
All right. Well,
Ready?
yep.
All
Wait,
right,
whenever
playing.
you are. This is the recording of Annalise Michelle.
It got so quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, which I mean, you know, it goes back to Brad.
It sounds like a cat.
Yeah, her trailing cat noise.
Well, that was our failed attempt to give you guys a little sound bite.
That is our one attempt to be professional with anything ever.
As you can see, we are not professionals.
Maybe one day. Maybe.
Maybe. That just added on like another 5 years at least before we become professionals. Oh shit.
Hey,
All
we
right.
gave something to our soon to be audio only listeners though.
Mm-hmm.
They missed the
Our
cue
little
of me
reactions to
holding
this.
popcorn.
Yeah.
You mean the best part?
Oh shit. All right,
Side
boys.
note, I found some popcorn. Shit's so good. It came with like an actual thing of butter that you could just put on it. It's so
So you just found it laying around?
yeah, it was
A
in the
whole bowl of
dumpster.
popcorn?
Uh-huh.
All right.
That's what like Halloween's about, right? They just leave popcorn out on the street and you're supposed
Yeah,
to grab
dumpster
it.
diving. That's
Like
Popcorn balls.
on
it's actually why
September
Halloween was created.
on September 29th. That's you know.
Yeah, September 29th, yeah. Created by dumpster diving.
Creating dumpster divers.
Anyways.
Also 10 out of 10 for both. So you're doing great, honey.
Okay, thanks. So we're gonna continue with another one. And this was actually I wanted to bring this one up because of like how different it ended, and especially for the time. This was on May of 1778. Uh, Reverend Easterbrook, an Anglican vicar of the now abandoned Temple Church in Bristol, England, was called on what would become the most bizarre case of his career. Uh, there was a man known as George Lukens that he fit the usual suspect issue where it was just like he's constantly going to church. He absolutely loves the choir part of it, so he's always singing. He's always reciting prayers by singing, and he ended up going to Bristol, and he started getting all these issues like you know tensing up, whatever. He started getting seizures there. He was also dealing with all those different signs of possession. The interesting part, though, was Lukens would go to multiple doctors and nobody knew what was wrong. Possession began when he would sing, and what he experienced, from his own words, would be a divine slap. But the funny part is many that knew him to be drunk. So people were just assuming that divine slap was him just like, oh, I'm drunk. I feel like I'm possessed. Uh, but there was an attempt to have an exorcism in discreet within a group of like 7 people or so. So one of them probably ended up gossiping, and it caused everyone in the town, well, not everyone, but the majority of the town to just know about it. And on the day of the exorcism, people gathered around the church and tried to listen through whatever crack they could find, windows or whatever. The usual stuff happened where he would make unnatural noises and shout and would even have seizures until finally it stopped. And once it stopped, Lukens, by making sure it was safe, would recite prayers. And he was able to go through the prayer without feeling like he was possessed. That was not the interesting part of the case. The interesting part is this case was not famous for the actual exorcism, but instead famous because the people did not believe he was possessed and it was all a hoax. And this was at 1778 that people would actually go around and try to see an exorcism take place and then just wouldn't believe it.
Fake news.
Arguably, yeah, right?
Mhm.
Arguably, when, I mean, religion had more of a say than government in some instances. So Lukens would go to die in 1805, but his fame from the exorcism would die off pretty much right after. So I wanted to bring that one up specifically just because that time, 1778. How wild is that? People actually not believing in exorcism around that time. If I was a fucking peasant around that time, I feel like that would be my only form of entertainment. I'd probably go around, bro, do you see this fucking exorcism? Were you trying to go in that church too and listen to this shit? That motherfucker was just seizing up and like just making weird ass noises like Brad was making earlier. Like, you're telling me that was a lie.
Put $15 on the other guy saying that he had the the demon possession. I was the underdog.
Turns out he just had cerebral palsy.
Jeez.
But we don't discover that for 200 more years.
Oh fuck. Nah, yeah, there's that's our second oldest one, and even though it was actually pretty hard finding these different takes on exorcisms, because for the most part, modern times, you don't really hear them actually being ordained or having the church recognize these exorcisms. Mainly because of their situations, obviously, but it's kind of like, because not that many people believe in religion anymore, it's kind of like fading away. But we do have one that's when was it? This was actually a little before we were born. And this one was in Spain. The Exorcism of Almanza. Now this one, fucking, just a heads up, if anyone is squeamish, do not listen to this.
Also, real quick interjection. First time chatter, one Mike Uchi. Brad, turn on a light so I can see your cute ass better.
And we didn't hear that at all.
Yeah, we didn't hear
It's
shit.
supposed to be spooky.
Yeah, let him keep the lights off if he wants.
I'm trying to do some other things in here, all right?
But yeah,
Also,
just
pretty
heads up.
much just tell them
Anyone
to shut
listening on Billy's stream, anyone that's eventually going to listen to this, these next like 15 minutes or so, do not listen if you're squeamish.
Earmuffs.
But I'm out. Sorry.
So Rosa Gonzalez, age 36, was the mother of a little Rosita of age 11 and was known as the healer. This woman at the time of the events had earned a reputation as a healer in Almanza, a small town in an autonomous community of Castile-La Mancha, Spain. The woman always claimed not to ask for money for her healings, but to accept only the offerings of those who turned to her. Her fame became so great that her husband left his job as a shoemaker to help her out. Rosa's sister Anna would help her eventually, not because she believed in her. Even during the sessions, Anna would not help, but because she believed great healers always worked in paired with siblings. One of the most loyal clients to Rosa was Maria, long name, Maria de Los Angeles Rodriguez, with whom it is said they had a relationship together. So the healer and this so-called friend Maria actually had a relationship together. Apparently it was no secret either. Maria also has a sister named Mercedes, which Rosa would go on to bring both of those sisters to make an even more popular healing group. Saturday, September 16th, 1990. Rosa calls Maria and asks her to come visit. Maria brings her children, where she meets Rosa in a state of agitation. Rosa tells Maria that Maria's husband's spirit, even though he's alive, is possessing and hurting her family. Rosa begins to exorcise Maria and her daughters by sticking her fingers down their throats to expel the evil. Once they each start bleeding, Rosa believes the exorcism is worked. Martin, Maria's husband, comes in and sees everything happening. So he takes his two daughters home and leaves Maria there. The following day, Martin returns to Rosa's house to try and bring his wife home without succeeding. At this point, Jesus, Rosa's husband, sees the state of these two women and begins to call for help. The sisters of the two women, Anna and Mercedes, and now Rosa's sister-in-law, hurry to the healer's house. The group goes into the bedroom where Rosa begins the exorcism session on Maria. Screams, prayers, and religious rites continue until Rosa calms down. Maria says that she is fully saved. Everyone leaves where Rosa and Maria lock themselves in their room, while Jesus and his daughter are in another one. At midnight, the women's sisters return for another ritual. September 18th, 1990. Jesus enters the bedroom where he sees three women naked and covered in excrement and urine. They force Jesus to clean everything and beating him and eventually order him to bring his daughter, the healer's daughter, that is. The women force the little girl to undress and throw her on the floor. The ritual begins on Mercedes. The ritual begins on Mercedes guilty of being possessed by Martin's spirit. Again, a little stop right here. How the fuck is a guy that's alive? How the fuck is his spirit possessing you? This makes no fucking sense at all.
That's that
His
voodoo
aura.
bullshit. Aura.
That's some shit that like fucking people that collect crystals would say.
And super glue them to their
That's-
fucking steering
He's just a Sagittarius, guys.
Obviously, that's Capricorn energy.
Oh fuck. Okay. So Rosa shoves her fingers down Mercedes' throat, making her bleed, which leads Rosa to believe Mercedes is cured. She is then convinced the spirit is possessing Rosita, her own daughter, and begins to beat her. Jesus hears the cries of the little girls and tries to save them, but he is beaten again by all the women, who then move into Rosita's room and barricade themselves there to finish the ritual. Anna, being the only woman not a part of this, starts to help Jesus try to open up the room. At this point, Maria begins bleeding from her period, which leads Rosa to believe it is Satan's abortion, and then looks to her own daughter that is not bleeding the same way and yells at her, saying her daughter is pregnant with Satan's child. At this point, Maria and Mercedes hold the child while Rosa puts her fingers inside her vagina. She scratches and digs until until she puts her entire hand inside this 11-year-old girl. Rosa continues to put a second hand to pull the girl's insides within minutes. Rosita ends up dying just from those few minutes. And Jesus finally manages to enter the room to see the most atrocious scene, only to run to the cops and try to get some help. Anna was still there in shock and was then beaten by the women who told her she is the key to little Rosita's resurrection. Anna would suffer serious injuries before the cops came in to arrest these women. And they never really continued anything after the arrest, but this is what happened. Now, there's no actual exorcism because apparently she's a fucking healer, but I'm assuming that was her own way, obviously, because she's, for fuck's sake, she's putting her own fingers in people's throats to make them bleed, and as soon as she sees blood, she thinks that the devils are gone. Like, this is fucking wild that this healer would end up doing this to her own 11-year-old daughter. In 1990. Fucking wild.
All right, 0 out of 10 for this one. Fuck that. What the what the
Yeah.
fuck?
On
No.
a scale of what the fuck? Like, what the fuck?
Who'd have fucking thought, man?
Jesus Christ.
God
And she
damn.
didn't stop at one either. Like, she went in with both hands.
Both hands. That is fucking wild, dude.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah, when I first read this, I had to stop for a quick second. I'm like, what the fuck am I reading, man? This is not something you really hear about at all.
Worse than 2 girls, 1 cup.
Right. But anyways, what are your thoughts, guys? What
Besides, that's fucked up.
holy shit.
I'm glad that wasn't adapted into a movie.
Oh my god.
I'm surprised
Yeah,
it hasn't
hopefully
been.
If anything, they'll just turn it into like a horror movie that's just torture porn.
Not very cash money.
Cash money.
Not very cash money.
My brothers in Christ, not very cash money.
Yeah.
You know, they should have just got the demon hunters on them, you know?
Should have got Sam and Dean Winchester.
Right,
Apparently
for
they
real.
were a little more efficient with what they did. Fuck. Oh. Well.
Yeah, again, it was super difficult to find stuff like this. So half of these stories are technically honorary mentions. And then these other long ones were what I was actually able to find that's decent enough that for the most part I feel like no one really ever heard.
Right.
But I do have 2 more short stories. And we'll talk a little bit more about this after we're done with these 2 because they're probably going to go through within like 10 minutes or so. But The first honorary mention is about a child named Aurelie Naomi Proctor of 3 years old. She would wake up and scream periodically. In September 24th, 2021, the mother of Aurelie, named Claudia, had brought her brother to help take Aurelie to church, where joined by their father to perform an exorcism. Claudia told police she attempted to stick her finger down her daughter's throat to induce vomiting. I don't understand what is up with this fucking throat down finger shit. But here we are.
You can puke the devil up, don't you know?
Yeah, right. And the child fell asleep several times. You know, no fucking surprise there. She's 3 years old going through that dog shit with you guys. Like, while she pushed her hand down her throat, the child's mother, accused of depriving the girl of food and of holding her neck and squeezing it, while the grandfather and uncle held the child down. Why the fuck are 3 people holding down a 3-year-old?
One for each year.
It's the
All right.
Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, right.
Power of Christ compels you.
Once the daughter became unresponsive, they all waited 2 hours before calling the police. The grandfather told the news that he performed a ceremony on the child to liberate her of evil spirits. He did not want to give details besides telling them that the girl would be asleep during the exorcism that took 2 hours.
Jeez.
The grandfather would later say that if you read the Bible, you will see that Jesus casts away demons and made sick people healthy again. It's not when I want to do it, it's when God, in his will, wants to heal the person. The preacher is like an instrument of God. What we do is what God says. And the Santa Clara County Med ruled the death homicide by asphyxiation. The mother was arrested right away, and it would not be until May of 2022 that the grandfather, uncle, and priest would be arrested on child abuse leading to death of the victim.
This was in 2021.
Yep.
He's fuck.
They just barely arrested the guys in May, 2
Yep.
months ago.
Yep.
Fucking, yeah.
Shit's wild. Why the fuck is shit like that still happening? Fucking weirdo.
Well, this is again going to the thing where, like, it's not actually ordained. It's just these people that are just so crazy, and they think that they're righteous because they believe in God.
Well, again, that's what I'm saying. Like Casey Anthony, but they have the Jesus excuse, you know?
Yeah. And this last one, uh this one's kind of intense because this involves an 8-year-old autistic boy.
Oh, God.
In August of 2003, his mother brought him to church to pray over him. They'd been going to this church for about 3 months. And this church was in a rundown strip mall in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What are the odds? Fucking Wisconsin, man.
It's Ganson.
First you got
It's in the,
Dahmer.
it's in the cheese.
It's in the cheese. It's in the cheese. Anyways, Pastor, his brother, the mother of Terrence, and multiple adults would form a circle around the boy and place their hands lightly over him as they prayed. The brother of the pastor would go on to say that they were just praying for him and asking God to deliver him from the spirit, and that he had, because the boy had spirits and would ask God himself to deliver him. How would an 8-year-old know that he's got spirits in him? Like,
Clearly,
on,
he
dog.
accepted them himself.
He felt the
Right.
Holy Spirit inside of him, all right?
At the end of the prayer, a woman noticed Terrence stopped breathing, so the police were called, but when emergency services arrived, the boy was dead. Within 2 hours of mass, an 8-year-old boy was dead and was ruled a homicide. There were no details about what truly happened during the prayer, besides the fact that medical examiners found out that the boy was actually pinned down during prayer. The ruling came out to be mechanical asphyxiation, meaning Terrence was suffocated to death. Being pinned down by multiple adults and just suffocated. Because oh my god, dude.
Did they also put fingers down their throat? Is that
I wouldn't be surprised.
I feel like we're 5 for 5 on that shit right now or something, you know?
Hey man,
Kind of wild, isn't it?
Fuck.
Right?
Jesus
That
Christ.
is the go-to, that you fish the devil out with your 2 fingers.
Stupid.
Oh fuck.
They call it
Yeah,
a fish
but
up
like-
for a reason.
Yeah, seriously, man. These modern day ones, it's they think they know what they're doing. I mean, you could talk about all of them. They think they know what they're doing, but I mean, I don't know. You can kind of see like a little bit of a relevance to these older ones too, just because like I feel like for the most part they would be more of like a medical issue.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Annalise Michelle had epilepsy to begin with.
Mhm.
Who knows what other issues she would have had if she would have just continued going to doctors, you know?
Right.
But instead, because they didn't really know what else to do, and she started hearing voices, fucking cue Randy Orton theme song. They just decided to go to the church. I mean, they really didn't know what to do, and to this day, there's still a lot of people that just think because religion.
Right.
And it's really sad because these people are just, again, it goes to just because you could have kids, just because you could be a parent, does not fucking mean you should.
And these people want to ban abortions, bro? Like, come on. So
Ugh.
I already know what you fucks are gonna say. But in Binding of Isaac, the story itself is based off of the actual creator. And the whole
Oh.
story is essentially there was a kid, Isaac, who was, he's a kid, some 6-year-old, and his mom is hyper religious, and she would be listening to the tele whatever televangelists. She was like really into televangelist, and the whole thing is basically she thought God told her to kill her son, and she went after Isaac and tried to kill them. And Ed McMillan, the guy who created the the game, said that this is like cut like what his childhood was. Like his mom was that, and she tried to kill him. And in the game, I don't know if this is real life, but in the game, when she tries to kill Isaac, a Bible falls on her head and knocks her out.
That's amazing.
That was the dad coming behind and smacking her in the back of the head with the Bible.
Actually, the official Binding of Isaac lore is the dad actually walked out on him.
I don't know if I brought this up. I don't know if I've brought this up before, but there was a day, I think it was our freshman year in high school, where it was Halloween, and I saw this one girl dressed up as Jesus and just running at people with a Bible saying the power of Jesus compels you.
Can you text me the name? Cool. Can you name drop him for me?
I never knew her.
Ah, damn it.
I never knew her name.
I bet Mike Gucci knew her.
Probably did.
He's the kind of guy.
He's the kind of guy.
Goon probably dated her.
Oh shit.
No, I dated the atheist wenches.
He said, wait, what? Oops.
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 My brother in Christ. Were you not paying attention?
There's a quiz after this, Mike. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Quiz, yeah.
That's
specifically
both
just for you, Mike.
One of the answers is that Big Mike's penis is named Holy Spirit.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Landy.
For our audio only listeners, hopefully, if I can get this on Anchor, we have this live on Twitch at twitch.tv/creating_havoc. But that's havoc with a K because Billy can't spell.
Billy wanted to be different, all right? It was the teenage angst within me.
The teenage angst. He says, "Oh man,
You just never
yeah."
grow out
So
of it.
this was a pretty interesting research thing that I ended up doing. It was actually a little bit of fun.
Did you
Yeah.
creep yourself out at all when you were reading them? Were you up all night and having
The first
creepy
one I did.
sounds?
I
Yeah.
did.
Doing the fucking the Annalise Michelle one, I kind of did because I was while I was while I was typing it up and like reading through all these different fucking articles and shit. My headphones are really good at like hearing background bass, not like that crazy bass that like hits you, but like if you hear like some sort of thump, it'll catch it. So
Mhm.
like if you accidentally like tap your mic, it'll catch it as like a thump.
Nightmare,
And
nightmare.
in the middle of writing this one down, started hearing shit. I'm like, what the fuck, man? All right, it's time for a break now. I'm not gonna continue this right now.
We'd be in with Venus, be like, "Oh my god, Venus, you got to see this shit."
Yeah,
Send her
right.
the articles. Also, Bree's got my back, so fuck you, Brett. Spelling is hard as fuck. All right.
So for next
Which
week, for the creepypasta thing, I listened to my creepypasta. I found a YouTube video of some guy narrating it, and I was listening to it, and it like kind of freaked me out. Like every time like I'd hear a little thump, I'd be like, "Oh fuck, dude."
I think the really hard part about the creepypastas that we're gonna be doing is they're kind of long. So it's like we want to have as much detail as possible, but
Yeah.
we don't want each of our stories to be an hour long read.
I have extensive notes, but I am going to. Gee, oh my god! I just scrolled through. I forgot how many notes I took. I will try to keep mine as short and sweet as possible. I could try to keep it under 10 minutes, but I could easily go for an
I
hour on
mean,
it.
we could go a little bit longer than that with each. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we could go
because
over an hour for the podcast. I don't care.
because we're doing something special this month, I feel like it's more than all right to, if for some reason the sense of going to 2 hours, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Side note though, I am working. Are we doing it Saturday or Sunday next week?
We're doing it Saturday because we have the concert on Sunday.
Shit, we do. Okay, so
You
Saturday
work on
I'm gonna
Saturday,
be at the office, so I'll be back closer to 9:45 if I can get out.
That's fine. I mean, it's
Uh,
Saturday, so we can literally stay up all night.
you're right,
Yeah.
and I don't have to work the next day, so you're fucking right.
Right. So Saturday night's good.
DDoS Billy.
DDoS hard. I'll
But
probably. Should we? Well, I mean, we could talk about it after. We probably should talk about it.
Yeah.
For the creepypasta stuff.
I know. So I know you guys kind of jokingly talked about it, but what do you think is your your top 3 out of all these stories?
It depends on how we're ranking it, like on how fucked up it is. The one with the fucking fisting's
Double
number
fisting your
one.
own child.
Chat, anyone
Yeah.
that listened through the whole thing in Billy's
Paying
chat,
attention.
let us know what your top 3 is if you want.
Bottom 3. That's the
Bottom 3.
bottom 3. They're all
Only
fucked up. They're
bottom
not good.
Yeah, double fisting your own child up there with probably the most fucked up shit I've ever heard in ways of exercising demons.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the fuck?
How funny is it that a couple of these actually had the same thing of putting fingers down throats?
That's
I
like
know,
what
oh
I
my
was starting to
God,
notice too.
dude.
Like, it's very like, do these crazy fucking people just start thinking the same way
It's a
when they
hive
follow these
mind.
patterns? Yeah. Let me just shove my fingers down your throat. That'll fish the Satan out.
The fucking autistic one hit like pretty hard because that's like
You.
for years. You're funny. For years, we didn't understand like different neurological, issues, and
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
like the epilepsy thing, like they didn't know what the fuck epilepsy was back then. Imagine if they had a like Tourette's, right? They would think the devil was making them say these things, like that kind of shit.
Right.
It's like
Mhm.
so that hits hard because that's super close to like the reality of things. Like that these are how these people are. But because these other guys are so fucking delusional, like they can't see that this is something out of their control that's not the fucking devil. It's how their brain is literally wired.
Yeah,
So it's sad.
it
Mhm.
really is. And I mean, you can look at a good amount of them, I'm sure, and I feel like they would all have schizophrenia on there
Yeah.
if they knew about it.
That's full brand.
But
Um,
yeah, I mean, that one for sure, because for some reason I remember reading up on that one on Terrence Cottrell, the 8-year-old boy. Like when I read that one up, I was like, fuck, I remember it for some reason. I mean, it was 2003. We weren't that young, but
yeah.
still, yeah, that one was probably one of the more fucked up ones aside from the one in Spain.
Two red eyes
But
keep popping up behind Z.
Yeah. So they
hell
make
yeah,
anyone else
brother.
uneasy. Also, see, your glasses are doing a really good job reflecting your browser.
Oh yeah.
You want to tell us what kind of porn you were watching during the podcast?
Yeah, Word.
Word.
Microsoft Office. Backdoor slap
Horse.
sign.
Horse porn.
Landy's been on a horse binge lately.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Has
yeah.
he? Oh my god.
Oh, so for the Halloween one, are we all doing like dressing up as maids?
Maids? Hell yeah.
Yeah, maids. I got a
Why
maid
not?
costume.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Sure.
I'll need to get like the full body cam going or
Get the whole
something.
I gotta wear
the whole
something
tutu.
underneath mine because mine is definitely not.
No. It's not like you're gonna stand up.
No, it doesn't cover the nips.
Male nips are fine on
Yeah, that's
Twitch
fine.
and YouTube.
That's fine. I mean, worst comes to worst, just get nipple tassels.
Pasties.
Tassels
Yeah, that too.
specifically. Tassels.
Or get plungers, if you got torpedo nips. That'll cover most of it. Oh
Lord,
yeah,
you
this
don't
is
wanna
gonna be a
fucking
good
sit
month.
here.
This is gonna be a good month. And
No, Halloween is on a Monday, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be like that before. Probably won't do it.
We could do a special on Monday if we want. I still
Yeah,
don't know
if
when
if
I
we're
know
feeling
I
up
have
to it,
it
why
off.
not?
yeah,
I know I have it off. So
I don't know. I mean, I have it off just I'd start my new schedules, but I don't know.
I mean, it's
We'll
you have a corporate job, don't you?
No,
It's a corporate
I
holiday.
am going to have
Okay.
a random job.
Get bent then.
My hours are
Hope
going to be
Right.
random now.
get bent real good.
you get that holiday pay.
Halloween's not a real
Who
fucking
the
holiday,
fuck gets
even though it is.
holiday pay for Halloween?
People who have corporate jobs and have to work.
It's not how that works. It's not a holiday. It's not an
That's a
official
fucking
holiday.
lie.
It's not an
That's
official
a fucking
holiday.
lie.
If you're not salary, it is. It's for some places.
What?
If I owned a business, it would be. Everyone
I
gets
mean,
Halloween
yeah, because
off.
you're making money on your own time.
Go
Like,
trick
Pretty
or
sure
treat
that's
with your
how
kids.
mine works.
all right.
My part-time one.
I call Cap.
I know I always have it off, so I don't know. I was never hourly during Halloween,
Whatever.
but I think I remember our hourly guy mentioning it.
What the fuck would you be hourly on Halloween?
Well, no, I was never hour. Like the only time I was hourly was for 2 months when I was interning before I graduated college. We have another guy though who was hourly. I'm pretty
Who's
sure I
gonna
remember his
do all the
name.
IT tickets on that
The
Monday?
hourly guy.
No, it's
No,
you,
no.
buddy.
None of the
your
salary
job.
guys.
You fucking pleb.
You think we work on holidays?
Anyways,
I'm gonna try to throw a Halloween party, Z. I don't think it'll be on Halloween, so we could try to do a podcast on Halloween if we can.
gotcha.
Gotta wear the main
Or I could just release it on Halloween if we want to film it at any other time. Doesn't
We'll
matter to
see.
me.
We'll see when the time comes. In the meantime,
It's
we
not gonna
already got
happen.
our schedule. We'll
We're
see
fucking
how it
lazy.
goes. I'm excited for this, boys. Let's
Creepypastas, let's go.
make this a fun
Creepypastas
one.
next week.
Thanks.
Saturday again, live around let's call it 10 if we can.
Yeah, 10 Central.
10 Central.
So, all right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This has been the Mere Nonsense Podcast. And deuces.
Love you guys.